Uwe Rösler's team, despite a bright start, find themselves behind. Who was it who got the final touch? Panovic was there, but who actually gets the header? It's actually not Panovic. It's the defender above him. It's Philipp Strumpf who scores the own goal. He had the final touch. And Timo Horn was beaten. So Philipp Strumpf, who was signed from Ulm in the summer, is the man who gets that final touch. And confirmation that it's Strumpf's own goal. Cluster of players who went up for it, and Strumpf, to his horror, rose highest. And for all of their pretty play in this competition in recent months, Stuttgart have scored a very basic goal there, forcing the error. And a free kick given, which stops Farid Alpha Ruprecht from moving through the gears. Leveling by Morgala. It's a good battle between those two tonight. Morgala, who is German under-21 international, against a pretty shrewd operator tonight in Jamie Leveling, an inverted winger of high quality. Ramon Hendricks swept away by Sissoko. Forward by Strumpf, the unfortunate man. Panovic. Vitek's cross, only half away, and Onyeka got it all wrong. And then Mittelstadt back to his goalkeeper. Smartly done. Does mean that Stuttgart have scored in 11 of their last 12 competitive matches now. It's the 37th goal of their season in what is the 21st match. Played in the Pokal, the Franz Beckenbauer Super Cup, which they lost to Bayern München. Obviously played in the Bundesliga and played in the Europa League as well. Drifted into the path of Mittelstadt. Away by Losley. Stuttgart hogging possession and making Bochum run. It's been a mixed picture at home for Bochum this season. 3 wins and 3 defeats, but they have won 2 of the last 3 under Uwe Rösler. But they don't face teams of Stuttgart's quality very often. Sebastian Hoeneß said his team were in for a real battle tonight. He said since Rösler has taken charge of Bochum, they've been top of their league in lots of different metrics. So they had a good mix of youth and experience. It was Hoeneß who led Stuttgart to DFB-Pokal glory last season. Big third-tier Arminia Bielefeld in the final. And they are looking to make the quarterfinals at least in each of the last 4 seasons. As the flag goes up, yeah, just beyond the last man, Dennis Undav. And not just him, also a long, long way beyond that. Laveling had made the run, but Undav was off as well. Away by Losley. Straight to Alpha Ruprecht. Just not quite finding the rhythm at the moment, Bochum in attack. Losley finding Morgala. It's a long chase for Kajetan Lenz. Came through the youth system at Bochum. Kajetan Lenz, only 19. Stuttgart did nearly come unstuck in round 1. They won an extraordinary tie at Eintracht Braunschweig, triumphed on penalties after a 4-4 draw. Second round tie was rather more straightforward as they won 2-0 at Mainz. And they're under pressure here, and Alpha Ruprecht gets there ahead of Braidlow and cannot score. Massive chance. And Braidlow a long way from home. Suddenly he was in. There's an argument to say the goalkeeper does well in the sense that he makes Farid Alpha Ruprecht's mind up for him. But it's a massive chance. Could have gone round him. Could have had a more accurate finish, but all ifs, buts and maybes now. Farid Alpha Ruprecht is still looking for his first Bochum goal. Done by Karatzor's, one of his best qualities there, being able to find his way out of tight spots. Here's Astignon. To El Canoes, he's got players queuing up in the middle, and one of them was Jamie Laveling, who hit the target but couldn't beat Timo Horn. It's good work this from El Canoes. Laveling, by his standards, will be a little disappointed. Little contact, but enough. El Canoes, so much sharper since coming to Stuttgart. Didn't really get to show his quality for a really badly struggling Leicester City in the English Premier League last season. Again, Laveling goes down. It's talked about The tough schedule for Stuttgart, Jamie Laveling. He said we got used to it in the Champions League and now we know what to do with all these games. Has been a phenomenal run for Stuttgart under Sebastian Hoeneß. They finished second in the league 2 seasons ago, qualified for the Champions League, won the Pokal last season, so therefore qualified for the Europa League. Closely getting a warning, but nothing more than that. Clumsy rather than malicious, but a foul nevertheless, and a chance for Stuttgart to look to add a second. All eyes on Philipp Strumpf. Panovic close to him again. Here it comes from Stiller. Got the flick on. Hendricks will keep it alive. Needs help. And in the end, a goal kick. Here was the chance for Losley. Batted away by Braidlow not once but twice, with Sissoko coming in, and here's the own goal. Strumpf getting up above Panovic and the Stuttgart man. Slip forwards towards Laveling, who's made a lively start to the game. Panovic back to Vitek. There's Mittelstedt. Just not finding the rhythm at the moment, Bochum, in the final third, and not really able to keep possession. It's given away cheaply, and Arthur Ruprecht on the move again. He's very quick. Player that nearly didn't get to start his pro career. He had to battle back from a bone inflammation 5 years ago that kept him out for 8 months. He said it was far from easy. Got a lot of support from his family. Assignon with a determined run, away by Sissoko. It's a strange header. Straight back to Assignon, who's done really well, and then got delusions of grandeur at the end. I think he was trying to find the top corner. But Uwe Rösler knows his team are under pressure here. Bochum, the 11th different club Rösler have coached. He's second in Germany after a spell at Fortuna Düsseldorf. Describes himself as a European with a German passport. He's spent a lot of time in Scandinavia. His wife is Norwegian. Spent a big chunk of his playing career in England, most notably with Manchester City. There's one for Onyeka to chase, but he's made no real impact in the game. Well, Bochum have had 7 shots so far. They've only had 32% of possession, but you look at the challenges won by Stuttgart, 62%, and they are just overpowering Bochum at the moment. Uwe Rösler did make reference to that ahead of this game. He said we have to win as many duels as we can, we have to match them physically. He made the point they don't just play good football, Stuttgart, they bring that physicality to the party. Here's Sissoko. He's been out with a shoulder injury, Ibrahim Sissoko, but came back to score twice in that 3-0 win against Greuther Fürth at the weekend. All three of those goals for Bochum at the weekend came in the first 17 minutes. Assignon. Just the one goal, despite Stuttgart's dominance. You might think that's strange with the 7-3 shot count, but I'd have to argue Stuttgart have been the more dangerous team. It's a big week for Stuttgart. They've got Bayern München at home at the weekends. Hendricks. El Khadoust picks up those pockets of space really well, but gives it away this time. That's a great example of what's happening to Bochum at the moment. Every time they win the ball, they're just failing to find those front players. Veitchen had that early shot that was headed wide, but he's barely touched the ball since then. It's true of Onyeka as well. I did wonder if it'd be a 4-2-3-1 for Bochum. It hasn't really worked out that way. We've had Panovic a bit deeper on that left-hand side with Veitchen generally ahead of him, but here is Veitchen. And he was looking for Onyeka. Was he fouled? Yes, he was, says Florian Badstübner. He's won a major trophy with the German under-17 team, Kjell Veitchen. He's 19 now. A player that hasn't really had the first team minutes he would have liked at Dortmund. It's obviously going to be difficult. Rösler far from happy. Half an hour gone in the Ruhr. Vitek's delivery. Away by Mittelstädt, who's had a good game so far on that left-hand side. Maximilian Mittelstädt. Over 200 Bundesliga appearances to his name. It's his 18th game in the Pokal tonight. Former Hertha player. Mogala to take the throw. Suspiciously like a foul throw. And indeed it is. Wry smile. They're not smiling. It's the first time since 2022 that Bochum have reached the round of 16. They went out to Dortmund that season, but in the campaign before that they got as far as the quarterfinals. They've never won the competition, but they were beaten finalists in both 1968 and 1988, and in both of those campaigns they did beat the defending champions on their way to the final. Would that be a sign of things to come if they could turn this one around? Here's Veitchen. He'll back himself, and a dangerous delivery, and it's hooked over the top by Onyeka. Excellent from Veitchen, but to no avail. Does brilliantly here because he touches that ball just enough to get separation. The cross is outstanding, and Onyeka is not far out here when he gets the contact, but he's trying to react. He's at full stretch. He's got 4 goals in his last 7 games in all competitions Francis Onyeka, just 18. Player who wanted to get first team minutes away from Bayer Leverkusen when it became obvious he wasn't going to get those opportunities this season. Mittelstädt. Lots of the attacks have come down the left for Stuttgart in this first half. Just wonder if they've targeted the less experienced Morgala rather than take on Maxi Vitek on the other side. You can see Sissoko dropping almost into a back three there. Between Losley and Strumpf. Statistics will tell you we should expect further goals. Bochum, an entertaining team to watch. 20 goals scored and 20 conceded in their 14 games in Bundesliga 2. Good challenge by Losley. Had to get that right against the increasingly adventurous Hendricks. Seeing the ball more and more down that left-hand side. Played more as a left back tonight really than a wide centre back. Again with the long throw. Again it was over the head of Strumpf this time, but again he misjudged it. That's clever from Mittelstädt. Recognised where the space was. Looking for Undav, who tried to use his body, played by Panovic. 10 minutes to go to half-time, plus whatever stoppage time is allowed. Mittelstädt. Here is Hendricks again. It's the benefit of having that three centre-back system that you can get forward, but they've lost it here, and Veitchen is rather tame with his effort. That's what can happen. Really clumsy from young Finn Jeltsch. And Veitchen just couldn't catch up with it. He had big Jeff Chabot slowly sliding that door across, and there was no way through. Marcel Canus. As we see, Onyeka's already had 3 shots, 11 touches, but he's been rather ragged in his work so far. There is potential in that front line, but they're all teenagers. Well dealt with by Sissoko. Though Mittelstädt seized upon the clearance, and Astignon can't get there. Stuttgart have won the DFB-Pokal on 4 occasions. They've been beaten in the final 3 times. So they are looking to make the DFB-Pokal final for the 8th time in their history. Bundesliga champions as recently as 2007. One of the few non-Bayern champions in the 21st century. On to take. Straight onto the head of Sissoko. That's clever from Stiller. It's opened up a lot of space for Mittelstädt. Now Leveling. It's Jamie Leveling. Didn't really want to take the shot on with his left foot. He does limit himself in that way sometimes, playing that inverted winger role. He's much more comfortable coming inside on his favoured right foot than going on the outside and striking with his left. He's not a regular goal scorer, Leveling. He never has been, really. His last league goal was all the way back in March. Here we go again. Ramon Hendricks. If you are just joining us, a long throw like this led to the only goal we've had so far, which is an own goal from Philip Strumpf. This time Strumpf clears. Several players offside, including Undav, and he's saying, well, look, I didn't play the ball. But the flag went up anyway. He's playing so well at the moment, Dennis Undav. Broke Jürgen Klinsmann's club record at Stuttgart Mainz on Sunday by scoring Stuttgart's last 6 league goals in a row. But he had no idea he'd done it until a reporter told him afterwards. And even then, it took a couple of goes to explain it to him. But the record is that he scored Stuttgart's last 6 goals in the Bundesliga. And he's got 8 goals in his last 8 games. Maximilian Wittek to try and make something happen here. He said about this game, we need to annoy Stuttgart. We need to be as horrible to play against as possible. Flat cross, easily away by Karatsor. Away by Finn Jeltsch, youngster. 19. Former Nuremberg man, Finn Jeltsch, on the right-hand side of that back three tonight. Despite that defeat at Hamburg at the weekend, Stuttgart are currently 6th in the Bundesliga. They're only a point off the Champions League spots, but there was an opportunity to try and make up some grounds. Mogala will take the throw. Sissoko. Most of the time we've seen him defending this evening. Here's Wittek. Maximilian Wittek. He can hit them. Well, that was rather wild. He's not a regular scorer. Only 3 goals in 72 Bochum appearances before tonight. Jelch again has had his pocket picked. Vaitian. Sissoko trying to bully his way through. But Finn Jelch on the right-hand side of that Stuttgart rearguard has had a couple of ragged moments now. Oh, that's loose by Strumpf. And the referee shows the yellow cards to Philipp Strumpf, who has not had the best of halves. Now, I think Sebastian Hoeneß is making the point that Strumpf was last man there. Loose touch. I think Hoeneß has got a point here, but the only thing that probably saves Strumpf is that he's a long way from goal. But you could make the case that once he's out of the game, there is nobody left to stop Stuttgart running through on goal. So yellow card, but nothing more than that. And no indication that the former Ulm man is going to be sent off. And perhaps Bochum got away with one and not everyone can continue watching. Has it restarted? Yeah. Is Patrick Hansblauer, the video assistant, giving Florian Badstubner some information about whether this should be upgraded. That certainly seems to be the case. Uwe Rösler looks a little dismayed. He's going to have a look. The judgment here is not about the challenge per se, it's about the fact that it could be the denial of a clear goal-scoring opportunity. I don't think that's about the challenge. I think it's about where Undav is, because if he gets that ball and runs through, they're clean through on goal. Two wide defenders, nowhere near the action. I don't think the challenge itself warrants the red card, but it's about its location and whether Undav, or if he'd worked it to Leveling would have been clean through. Now, will it stay as a yellow or will it be upgraded to a red?
Überprüft wurde die gelbe Karte gegen Nummer 3. Nach Ansicht der Bilder liegt eine Verhinderung einer klaren Torschance vor. Entscheidung deshalb rote Karte.
It is being upgraded to a red card, and Philipp Strumpf, who scored the own goal, is now sent off. What a nightmare half for him. His mistake that led to the challenge. And as you can see, the denial of a clear goal-scoring opportunity, and that's why Philipp Strumpf has to go. It's that loose touch there. I don't think he even knows that Undav's coming. I think he's just trying to open out his body to bring the ball out. And Bochum down to 10 men. Looked as though Erhan Mashevich was being ready to come on. They've not made that change yet. Still his delivery, away by Sissoko. The volley from Undav was charged down. Onyeka will look to try and bring this away. He's got Vitek as the only target, and he's found him. And Vitek was fouled. And that's going to be a free kick for Bochum. No further punishment for Bilal El-Khanous. It's a nudge. It's a foul, but nothing more than that. Can and the 10 men make something happen here. Maximilian Wittek. It's a great ball in. Goalkeeper will come for that and will get it. It was the position of Strumpf's covering defenders that did for him, really. And that is half-time, and Bochum find themselves a goal down and a man down, and the same man linked with both incidents. Philipp Strumpf with an own goal from a long throw, and then Strumpf on the stroke of half-time sent off for a challenge when he was last man on Dennis Undav. Half-time, Bochum 0, Stuttgart 1. Well, Uwe Rösler and Dennis Undav just talking over that red card incident, but it's not about the severity of the challenge, it's about where that challenge was, and the officials in the end have determined that had Undav not been fouled, he would have been clean through, and it is therefore the denial of a clear goal scoring opportunity. And that's why Bochum find themselves down to 10 men. One suspects they'll bring on Erhan Mashevic at half-time and will probably sacrifice one of their young forwards. Well, stats can be misleading. Bochum with more shots on target, but the truth is really that Stuttgart were in control of that for big swathes of the half. And Fabian Bredlow extended a couple of times. And as we see, an early chance at 0-0. Noah Losley with the header, pushed away by Bredlow not once but twice. And then this was the own goal. You can see the heads go up, and Strumpf guides it beyond his own goalkeeper. Timo Horn, well beaten. Horrible moment for Philipp Strumpf. Just completely misjudged it, gets stuck underneath it, he's trying to head the ball clear, and that's every defender's nightmare, to see the ball skim off your head and loop past your own goalkeeper. And then Strumpf right at the end of the half, a loose touch, he had no idea Undav was there, and he crunched into him, and that was deemed the denial of a clear goal scoring opportunity because of Strumpf's positioning. And that's left Uwe Rösler's men in big trouble at half-time. Sebastian Hoeneß felt it was a red card at the time, and eventually that feeling was vindicated, and Strumpf, the former Ulm man, had to go. And at half-time it's Bochum 0, Stuttgart 1.
One competition, so many stories, dramatic moments, future superstars who took their first steps in the DFB-Pokal, and remarkable cup nights. The DFB-Pokal, simply special. This is why we love football. Back in 2003, Hoffenheim were still non-league minnows from a small village, but in the dressing room they had good reason to celebrate and knew how to party. The coach was the life and soul of it, Hansi Flick, future treble winner and German national team coach. This is where he kick-started a stellar career. In the round of 16 against Bayer Leverkusen, Hoffenheim were ready to shine and produce their finest hour to date, an exhilarating performance and 3-2 victory that left Leverkusen stunned. Hansi Flick and Hoffenheim celebrated an almighty cup shot in 2003. the 23rd of May 1992, a remarkable day and a final to remember in Berlin. Second tier Hannover 96 took on overwhelming favourites Borussia Mönchengladbach. Goalless after 120 minutes, the final would be decided by a penalty shootout, where Jörg Sievers was the hero of the hour, saving 2 spot kicks at the Olympiastadion. For the first time ever in the DFB-Pokal, a second division side lifted the prestigious trophy. Befittingly, the celebrations started in the stadium, carried on into the dressing room, and continued the next day, together with 50,000 fans at the City Hall in Hanover. An outpouring of collective joy in Bochum, and Manuel Riemann was at the heart of it. After all, it was the extrovert keeper who got the party started at the Ruhrstadion. Just before the final whistle, the shot stopper was brought on specifically for the penalty shootout. He would prove the match winner, but not because of his saves.
Bochum 1 kick away from winning the tie. It all comes down to goalkeeper Manuel Riemann, and he scores the decisive penalty.
An incredible night in Bochum, a night only the DFB-Pokal can create. The dressing room in Ulm after a record-breaking afternoon. It was the first round of the 2001-2002 season. Bundesliga outfit Nürnberg travelled to 5th tier Ulm, and the 5,000 fans inside the Donaustadion witnessed a match that would enter the DFB-Pokal history books. Non-League Ulm were on an equal footing, 1-1 the score at half-time. But when Ulm legend Dragan Trikuja made it 2-1 from the spot, the celebrations knew no bounds. A side from the 5th tier had beaten one from the Bundesliga, a unique feat in the DFB-Pokal. If Germany internationals are walking to the game, it has to be the DFB-Pokal. Bastian Schweinsteiger helped out with the Bayern reserves in the first round in summer 2004. The visitors and clear favourites were Borussia Mönchengladbach. But this was still Bayern, and Schweinsteiger and co had lofty ambitions. The opener from Jungwirth was cancelled out when Gladbach equalised in the 85th minute. The game went to penalties. Bayern coaching legend Hermann Gerland and Schweinsteiger, who'd been subbed off, could only look on in hope. It was a shootout full of tension and emotion, the excitement such that you could barely watch. After 18 penalties, the hero in Munich was keeper Michael Rensing. Bayern's under-23s had dumped Gladbach out of the competition. In the thick of it was Bastian Schweinsteiger, who 10 years later would lead Germany to World Cup glory. The showpiece event in 1973, to this day one of the most dramatic and storied DFB-Pokal finals ever. Borussia Mönchengladbach against FC Köln. In the squad that day, but surprisingly only on the bench, was Gladbach's superstar Günter Netzer. He was leaving for Real Madrid at the end of the season. And the plan by Gladbach's illustrious coach Hennes Weisweiler seemed to be working. Herbert Wimmer made it 1-0 to the Folds. But the Billy Goats struck back before half-time. There were no more goals in the second half, but cometh extra time, cometh Netzer's legendary intervention. After a brief word with his teammates, Netzer decided to bring himself on as a sub, informing coach Weisweiler in the process. And he was centre of attention almost immediately. In the 3rd minute of extra time, Netzer scored the winner, achieving immortal status in his last game for Gladbach. The stadium was practically empty. After all, it was only Stuttgart's under-23 side. They were playing host to Eintracht Frankfurt though, and the 1,700 or so present would never ever forget what they witnessed. Stuttgart's second-string side, led by the excellent Alexander Hleb, later of Arsenal and Barcelona fame, didn't just win, they ripped the favourites from Frankfurt apart. It finished 6-1. Frankfurt's fans were so fed up, they'd switch sides by the end, ironically cheering for the underdog. The biggest ever victory by a third-tier side against a Bundesliga outfit. The Stadion an der Alten Försterei, a temple to football culture. Nowadays, the home of Union Berlin is an established Bundesliga stadium. In 2001, the team from the suburb of Köpenick were in the 3rd division, but the stadium could produce a magical atmosphere nonetheless. Second-tier Oberhausen, Fürth and Ulm had all been given short shrift. Then, Bochum of the Bundesliga were sent packing in the quarterfinals. And after a penalty shootout victory over Borussia Mönchengladbach in the semis, there was no holding back in Eastern Berlin. Third-tier Union had reached the final of the DFB-Pokal, a miraculous achievement. At the Olympiastadion, though, Schalke proved a bridge too far, winning the cup thanks to a 2-0 victory. But Union's devoted, football-mad fans still hailed their heroes. Football culture at its best. This is why we love football.
Welcome back to our coverage of this DFB-Pokal round of 16 clash between Bochum and Stuttgart, with Stuttgart leading by a 1-0 going into this second half. Bochum a goal down and a man down, a Philipp Strumpf own goal, and then Strumpf sent off for bringing down Dennis Undav when the striker would perhaps have gone clean through. So it looks as though there are going to be changes from Bochum here. Erhan Mashevic certainly ready to come on. He is centre-back, so that makes sense in terms of replacing Strumpf. But I suspect they'll look at that forward line as well, because Veitchen had a couple of bright moments, but apart from that, perhaps didn't create as much as they would have wished. There was that moment when Farid Alpha Ruprecht raced through, but fired his effort off target with Bradlow a long way from home. Stuttgart looking to reach the quarterfinals for the 4th season running. Well on the way to doing that. A man advantage and a goal advantage. So 2 changes. Mashevic is definitely one of them. No changes for Stuttgart at this stage. So Kajetan Lenz has come off, and Moritz Brony Kvarteng is on for Onyeka, so that's a change in attack, as well as change at the back. So Lenz is a midfielder, so they've effectively brought on Mashevic, is in your picture now, to be that centre-back. Sissoko will stay in midfield. I imagine they'll drop Panovic and Veitchen a bit deeper, and Moritz Brony Kvarteng will lead the attack. That's how they'll reorganise the 10. Kvarteng has never scored for Bochum, and in fact hasn't scored a professional goal since April 2023. Not able to start the game for obvious reasons here. Uwe Rösler has set out his plan, made his changes. He knows that he needs to have a focal point in attack to try and take a bit of the heat off his team. Did wonder actually if he would have decided to bring on Philipp Hofmann, who is really strong in the air and quite a big, strong guy in attack. Thought he might have been able to hold the ball up for the 10 men, but they've gone with another speedster. Can Bochum, against all the odds, find a way back into this contest? Eventually. Bochum, who won at Berlin-based BFC Dynamo in round 1, and then caused a bit of an upset by knocking out Augsburg, Bundesliga team, won 1-0 with a goal from Gerrit Holtzmann. It's the Stuttgart fans who've made their presence felt here and delayed the restart. And as you can see, it might take a little while for that smoke to clear, especially at that far end. There was a game here in the Bundesliga between these two that had a very long delay once because of a banner that was blocking one of the emergency exits. And when the game restarted, it didn't do Stuttgart any good, that delay from their fans, because in the end Bochum won that game 1-0. And that's the only time they've beaten Stuttgart in the club's last 12 meetings. It's always tricky this for players and coaches, because players have to try and stay warm, especially on an evening like this, and it's easy to seize up a bit when you've already had sizable half-time break. There's at least an opportunity for Uwe Rösler to get all of the details of the tactical plan across to Moritz Brony-Kwarteng, who was on loan at Fortuna Düsseldorf last season. A player who's not really been able to show his best since joining Bochum. Well, some are making use of the delay. One on the left, I don't think had realised the camera was on them. One on the right certainly did. And still we wait. And understandably so, because Florian Bartstubner can't get us back underway while play is obscured. Can Bochum produce a famous turnaround in the DFB-Pokal against a team that won the tournament last season? It's the big question. Smoke is starting to clear. It's difficult from this position to really tell, but can't imagine it'll be too much longer before we can resume the contest. We didn't restart the game, so no need for a big chunk of stoppage time. So here we go. After a delay, we resume, and we do so with Bochum a goal down and a man down. It was Philipp Strumpf who scored the own goal in the 12th minute. It was Philipp Strumpf who was sent off on the stroke of half-time. And Bochum, in response to that, have made a double change. Brought in Erhan Mašević and Moritz Brony-Kwarteng for Kajetan Lenz, the young midfielder. And they've also taken off Francis Onyeka, who struggled to make much of an impact in the first half, really. No changes for Stuttgart as they look to see this through. Confirmation of those changes. It's a shame for Lenz, because he's a rising star of this Bochum team. Certainly Uwe Rösler, his new coach, has been very impressed with him. Said that Lenz came to him recently and asked him for tips on how to improve. And I've kept that alive for Stiller. And the cross! He's guided in beautifully by a man on scintillating form. 9 goals in his last 9 games in all competitions. There is no stopping Dennis Undav right now. And it is the worst possible start to the half for Bochum. The 10 men find themselves 2 goals down. Undav kept it alive in the first instance, and then watch how he gets in between defenders. And it's a beautiful header, really is. Keeps it alive for Stiller. Leveling's cross is perfect, and the header outstanding. It's his 4th goal in 10 DFB-Pokal games, including the final last season. Sebastian Hoeneß a happy man, so he should be. Undav did miss a chunk of the season with injury, but since he's come back, he's been red hot. To score 9 goals in a 9-game stretch is really quite something. Hendricks, the man down. He's been active down that left-hand side for the holders. Bang to the nose, but not too much damage done. He just gets caught there by the forearm of Farid Alpha Ruprecht. He was just holding his position. To be fair, Hendricks didn't make too much of it. Chabot out to Assignon. Stuttgart have Bochum where they want them. That was too long for Al Khanous, and I think there was a bit of a miscommunication anyway about who's going to take that ball down. They're up to 38 goals for the season now in all competitions, Stuttgart. And they've been very clinical here, forcing the own goal early on, and then Undav with the perfect start to the second half. It's their way back in for Uwe Rösler's team. Got to feel they have to score the next goal. That's a non-negotiable. There's Morgala. Vachin on the move. He has looked sharp tonight, Kjell Vachin. Just trying to get the crowd going there, having won that corner. Scored his only goal for Bochum last month against Magdeburg. Crowd trying to do their bit. Vitek to take. They need a spark, need something to happen. And they're not going to get it with a corner like that. Alpha Ruprecht. It's great work from Undav. He leads that attack so well. Leveling wanted that ball earlier. Kvarteng's gone all the way back with him and has dealt with the danger, but if that was played first time, Leveling believed he was in. Throwing goes Stuttgart's way. How do Bochum find a way back in? Only lost once under Uwe Rösler. But Stuttgart, of course, the best team they faced by far this season. DFB-Pokal winners last season, Bundesliga runners-up the season before. All the more remarkable when you think the season before that they nearly went down. Needed to win the relegation playoff against Hamburg. Leveling's cross, away by Panovig. Now Chabot. Chabot again. Karatsaw was trying to turn it around the corner for Leveling. Atakan Karatsaw, who made his debut for Turkey against Bulgaria during the international break. He had received 3 call-ups previously, but had never had the chance to play. He said it was a dream come true, an unforgettable moment. Sebastian Hoeneß, the coach, very pleased for him. He's always been a big champion of Karatsaw's, a big defender of him. Forward by Stiller, Assignon. All he could do was help it on. Feels that he picked the wrong option there. Couldn't bring it down, couldn't volley it goalwards with any kind of venom. Here's Panovig, but he's all alone at the moment. Crossing to nobody, really. Comfortable night for Fabian Bredlow so far. Signed from Nuremberg. He was born in Berlin, Bredlow, so final at the Olympiastadion is always going to be a special occasion, even if he's the backup goalkeeper rather than the starter. El Kanous. Too close to Timo Horn. Former Köln man, Timo Horn. Signed on a free from Salzburg. Player that was approached as a teenager by Liverpool about a move to England, but said he felt he'd progress more quickly and get better coaching in Germany at the time. Certainly would have been harder for him to get first-team football. He was a regular for Köln for so many years. Assignon's progress was curtailed, but the referee sees no case to answer. Then towards Veitchen. Kvarteng has moved into a wider role, really. You don't have an out-and-out focal point in attack, and I'm a little surprised by that. Vinjelch. Now Chabot. What a signing he's been since arriving from Köln. This is where when you have 10 men, it's a nightmare playing a team like Stuttgart. And here's El Kanous. He tried to be really clever and finds Undav. He would have been better off having a shot because it had opened up for him. Uwe Rösler telling his team, Weiter, 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 keep going, keep going. But since that Undav header right at the start of the half, it's been even harder for Bochum. Alpha Ruprecht trying to use his pace. Hendricks was in his way. Home fans weren't happy about that. Leveling. Away from Morgala. It's Leveling's cross that led to the Undav header. For goal number 2. And he's won his team a corner here. Sebastian Hermes did say, if we get to the quarterfinals, things will start to get really interesting in this competition. There are some big hitters. Leverkusen, Leipzig, possibly Bayern later tonight. It's away by Panabik. Kept alive by Assignon, his Mittelstädt. Stiller, he can hit them, Stiller! Timo Horn delighted to see that whistle wide. How close was this? Always swinging away from goal. Cuts across it, Stiller. He's got some spectacular goals on his CV, Angelo Stiller. Got a stunner in the semi-finals against RB Leipzig last season. Leveling couldn't keep it. Farid Alfa-Ruprecht going the long way around. He did manage to at least force the ball across. Veitchen. Sissoko. Alfa-Ruprecht again. Corner kick. There is life in Bochum yet. Understand there are going to be a couple of changes apiece. Good block by Hendricks, who's played pretty well tonight. Are any of these changes going to happen before the corner? I have my doubts about that. Losley trying to get separation between him and Stiller. A bit in swinger from Vitek. Fisted away by Braidlow, and the decision is given to Stuttgart. Howls of derision from the fans behind the goal. He's being backed into by Veitchen. I don't think there's much there. So Alfa-Ruprecht, one of the players going off, and Morgala as well. And they brought on Felix Paslak, who'll just go in for Morgala, and Kasper Kuczewski comes on. The Stuttgart changes see Elkanous and Hendricks replaced. Confirmation of those Bochum changes. Chris Furyk on for Elkanous for Stuttgart. Paslak for Morgala. Changes a freshening of legs at right back. Paslak a more experienced player. Queuing up here, Furyk straight away, trying to make something happen. He's got into that left-hand side with Leveling coming to the right. Stuttgart, who made 8 changes for this game. Nicolas Nati is the other player who's come on. Nati, who is a midfielder really, but can play a number of roles. Nati was out for 2 years with injury, but has had a run of appearances since. Forward by Yelch. It does look as though Stuttgart have gone to a back four. Yelch and Chabot in the middle, with Mittelstedt and Assignon the two fullbacks. That makes sense really against 10 men. Don't necessarily need three centre-backs. Nati can bring them a bit more penetration and energy in midfields. Offsides the call against Bochum. There's been a lot of talk in the last few weeks about Stuttgart's squad rotation. Sebastian Hoeneß has been chopping and changing and trying to keep players fresh in what's been a really busy season for his team so far. Says he doesn't like the idea of an A team and a B team because it's not what they have. He said it's all about load management. You have to say so far it's working. Furich. You have to credit Fabian Volkermuth, the sporting director, because they do have real depth in this squad now. They've got the numbers. They're on track to qualify for the knockout phase of the Europa League. We're on the cusp of qualifying for quarterfinals of the DFB-Pokal once again, and in the top six in the Bundesliga. Assignon couldn't keep it against Vitek. Couldn't find Kvarteng. Panovic was looking for a run of Veitchen. Uwe Rösler says football's a religion in this part of the world, and that's why he was attracted to the Bochum job. Said the tradition and the emotion of the club's so important. Said if I can't feel that, then I can't do my best work as a coach. Forwards by Kuszewski. And the shot-driven goalwards by Veitchen flashes wide of the target. But they were patient there, they opened it up. The initial burst from Kuszewski. And then Paslak teeing up Veitchen. Not sure he was actually trying to find Veitchen. I think he might have been looking for Panovic further over. But Veitchen got involved. A former Dortmund player, finding one who's still on Dortmund's books, even though he currently wears the dark blue of Bochum. Bochum have caused a shock already in this competition. Beat Bundesliga side Augsburg in Augsburg. Chabot overhits that. But from the moment that Philipp Strumpf scored an own goal in the 12th minute, it hasn't really looked as though Bochum would spring a surprise. They've had their moments, but not turned any of those into goals. Here is Jeff Chabot. Yelch. Moving towards the final quarter of the contest, and Stuttgart very much in command. 2-0 up against 10 men. And Stuttgart's such a nightmare to play against if they have a man advantage. And here is Stiller. Cross was deflected. Yelch was trying to keep the pressure on against Kvarteng. That desire is still there from Stuttgart, that willingness to push forward and get a third goal. Furich. Good wing play, but Losley able to deal with it. Player that was praised by Uwe Rösler ahead of the game. He said he's an exemplary professional in the way he prepares for matches and training sessions, even when things aren't going well. Taking the low road here and pushed away by Horn. The effort from Chris Furich was fierce. Mittelstädt. Now Karatso. It's guided in by Jelch. Chabot tried to let it run. Bochum are finding it so hard to get forward momentum here. Sissoko. All he could do was try and bang it downfield, and he didn't clear it very far. Karatso. Assignon. Now labelling. That's delicate, and that's well claimed by Timo Horn. Furich's effort here. Goalkeeper got a nice early view of that. It would have been a big surprise if Timo Horn had let that go past him. Mentioned about Passlack being a former Dortmund player. And Furich was on their books as well at one stage. Here's Veitchen. Passlack. Koszewski's cross. That's awkward for Karatso. And Kasper Koszewski on that right-hand side has looked dangerous so far. Player who plays his youth football for Germany, but his parents and the rest of his family are from Poland. Says his grandfather's always asking him to play for Poland instead of Germany. He's certainly made a decent start here. He's won this corner. In by Vitek. Breglow again under pressure, again gets the decision. Bochum fans getting frustrated, feeling that Breglow's being overly protected here. Let's have a look. Well, Veitchen just stands his ground. That's more of a foul than the last one. "20 minutes of normal time to go." We're going to have some stoppage time, of course. An own goal from Strumpf and beautiful header early in the second half from Dennis Undav. The difference between the teams. Mittelstedt's cross. Karatso coming in, and the volley is rather wayward from Assignon. He's yet to score for Stuttgart. Lorenz Assignon. Here was the Undav goal to make it 2-0. What a header. Super cross by Leveling, but that header is glorious. Perfectly guided beyond Timo Horn. And it is 9 out of 9 for Dennis Undav. Goal machine at the moment. Nati. Here is Leveling. Nati again. It's over the head of Undav. Furich will collect. They're just wearing Bochum out at the moment. Chabot. Bochum chasing shadows. Bochum have still outshot Stuttgart, but Stuttgart have won the physical battle and they've completely dominated possession. And that wasn't just 11 against 10, that was 11 against 11 as well. Chabot, and again, Jeltsch. Even with a back four, they're still pushing forwards. All Bochum can do is hang in there and hope that they can get a goal to halve the deficit, and then who knows, with this kind of crowd behind them, maybe they could do something very special. But 10 men are finding it tough, and I have to say I'm a little surprised this change didn't happen at half-time, because there are very few players who are better in the air than Philipp Hofmann. He's the kind of player that can do something with a long ball like that. You look at the likes of Panovic and Kvarteng and Veitchen, he's just not going to be able to win these aerial challenges. Understand it is Veitchen he's going to come on for. As offside is given against Kvarteng, who's been able to do very little since coming on. Just a little bit of a surprise, really. Hofmann did score at the weekend against Fürth in that 3-0 win. One of the things that's interesting is that Stuttgart still playing with a fair bit of intensity, but they're keeping the ball and they're trying to conserve energy, and that's important, especially when you bear in mind they've got Bayern at the weekends. Finally back at home after a 4-game stretch on the road. Karatso Zanati. Stiller. Unda. Here's Jamie Labeling. Forward by Stiller, and it was well taken by Timo Horn. Over 200 Bundesliga appearances to his name, Timo Horn. Very experienced goalkeeper. He's not been under siege tonight. He's not had a string of saves to make, but he hasn't been able to prevent that corner. Did the first bit right, and then the knee let him down. So Veitchen does make way for Hofmann, and changes are going to be made here by Stuttgart. Angelo Stiller will be replaced by young Chema Andres, who's been signed from Real Madrid. Change sees Badruddin Bouanani come on for Jamie Laveling, Algerian international who came in from Nice in the summer. So Andres and Bouanani on. Goalkeeper with a nice early shout. Given away rather cheaply there. Sissoko battling and does win the free kick. Well, they've not collapsed here, Bochum. They've stayed competitive, they've worked hard. But it's not been an easy evening for them. They were behind the moment. Strumpf headed into his own net in the 12th minute. deals with it well under pressure from Nati. Lovely control by Mittelstädt there. He's had a really effective game on that left-hand side. You can see how well drilled Stuttgart are. That switch from back three to a back four was pretty effortless. Generally so comfortable. They are operating with the big squad this season. I think they were burned by the fact that they underperformed in the Champions League, and even though the season ended in DFB-Pokal glory, I think they felt they could have done better in Europe's top competition if they'd had a deeper squad. Of course, they've had the experience of that Champions League run. It's made the group stronger, and they'll be expected to at least make the knockouts of the Europa League, and they'll hope they can make the top 8 and qualify automatically for the last 16. That would give them a couple of games off. Chris Führich trying to give Kuszewski a few problems. Just had a couple of sloppy moments. Stuttgart. It's difficult to keep your concentration when you're this dominant. Nati's almost the furthest forward at times, with Undav dropping a bit deeper. 11 minutes to go. Let's give it away by Sissoko. That's nicely left by Undav, always so full of imagination. Got to think that Undav's at least in the mix for a place in Julian Nagelsmann's Germany squad. It's the kind of player that you can bring in 20 minutes to go and he can make something happen. Oh, that was loose from Astignon, but Chabot got out the mop and cleaned up. Kvartek has helped it on. Kuszewski couldn't find a way round Mittelstädt. Not the first, and he won't be the last to come up short against Stuttgart's number 7. 10 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Time the enemy for Bochum. Fatigue the enemy for Bochum. They played with 10 men for the whole of the second half so far. Dennis Undav, outstanding once again. 3 shots, 1 goal, and the timing of that goal so important. So early in the second half, it just killed any momentum Bochum wanted to build up with that double substitution they made. And towards Assignon, headed away. Kvarteng took a risk. Nati! Well, what a story that would have been for Nicolas Nati. Player who's never scored in the DFB-Pokal, he's never scored in the Bundesliga either. After a couple of years on the sidelines, he must have wondered whether he'd be able to get back to full fitness. But Stuttgart believed in him, Hoeneß believed in him. Vinjelch finding Undav. quite like Dennis Undav. By his own admission, he was dropped as a youngster by Werder Bremen because he was too short and didn't perhaps have the classic athletic physique that Werder were looking for. So his chance of progressing there was lost as a youth player. He ended up working his way up the divisions. That's a lovely ball through. It just got away from Furyk at the vital time. Ended up playing for clubs like Meppen in the lower leagues. Undav, he was picked up by Brighton eventually after a spell in Belgium. And since he's come to Stuttgart, he's gone from strength to strength. Seven minutes to go. Again, given away in a dangerous area. Shamer Andres. Assignon couldn't get the shot away, and then Furyk did. But it was too close to Timo Horn. Well, they're not going all out for a third goal here, Stuttgart, but they're pushing just enough to keep creating chances. Bochum, I have to say, look out on their feet. They've had to work so very hard. And that run of one win in 12 competitive meetings is going to be extended to one win in the last 13, unless something dramatic happens. Undav. Quite the ball he wanted. Nobody is going to want to draw Stuttgart in the quarterfinals. Team looking for back-to-back DFB-Pokal trophies. Something that has been done before. That was a bit loose. He was looking for Shamer Andres. But every time Bochum clear it, it's coming straight back at them. I don't think Hofmann's touched the ball since he came on. Furyk. Stuttgart just serenely tiptoeing towards the quarterfinals. Poor old Philipp Strumpf will be left to reflect on. Pretty horrible first half for him. His own goal, his sending off, and that's what left Bochum in a hole going into the second half. And that hole was made deeper so early in the second half by that header from Dennis Undav. It's a Stuttgart club that hasn't had things all their own way since they won the league in 2007, relegated twice since then, which is a really big deal for a club of their size, but they've steadily built the club back up. Now they are seen as one of the big hitters in German football, and Sebastian Hoeneß has done a magnificent job. Uwe Rösler knows his season won't be defined by this. It'll be about what they do in the league. Kwarteng. Couldn't find a way through, away by Mittelstädt. Three minutes of normal time to go. referee, I think he's going to give the free kick for that foul by Sissoko. He just gave Chemirandres a bit of a calling card. And we're going to see first appearance of the season for Leonidas Stergiou, who was out with injury and then found it really difficult to fight his way back in. Furyk. It's a delicate cross. Karatsour couldn't quite grow enough. He doesn't get many goals. That's again Karatsour, but he did score against Mainz in round 2. And still see the bright side. So Stergiou on and Jelch off. Plays his international football for Switzerland. Leonidas Stergiou, he'd be hoping to get a regular first team run, but he might have a decision to make when we get to January, because if he doesn't have a prospect of playing much more, then he may have to make that move to have a chance of making the Swiss squad for the World Cup finals. There are a fair few players who are going to have to make that calculation ahead of next month. This has been very professional from Stuttgart. Played with an ease and quality that has kept Bochum very much at bay in this second half. Not everyone's feeling very festive, but this will be long forgotten if Bochum end up winning promotion. Headed on by Kwarteng, and Kucierski trying to make something happen. He's looked really lively since coming on, Kasper Kucierski. Free kick given against Bochum though, and 3 minutes of additional time. We're into the first of those. Assignon. Buonanni. No way through. Assignon's got a problem here. It's been tough sledding for Bochum in this second half. There was a forearm in the stomach there for Assignon. I'll take some positives from this. They've hung in there with 10 men. Only conceded the one additional goal in this second half. And Sebastian Hoeneß's very impressive DFB-Pokal record is going to be further enhanced. Going into tonight, he'd won 15 of 19 ties in the competition, including a run of 11 wins in his last 12. Well, that's going to be 16 out of 20 now. And that is some going. Assignon is the one final push for the third goal. Buonanni, always a tricky player, and he's done really well here. And I think Horn got a touch to that. Furyk racing onto it, and that's a corner. Stuttgart still chasing goal number 3 to add further icing to what is already a satisfying cake. It's great work this from Buonanni. Sebastian Hoeneß has talked a lot about him recently, the quality that he has. He says he has to become even more active in games and has to work harder without the ball as Sissoko is levered off the ball, and that will probably be that. Stuttgart well on their way. Bochum brave in defeat, but defeat it will be. The holders go through to the quarterfinals with a minimum of fuss. In front from the 12th minute onwards when Philipp Strumpf scored an own goal. Strumpf was sent off at the stroke of half-time, and the man he fouled, Dennis Undav, made it 2-0 just after half-time, and Stuttgart go through by 2-0. So the holders, for the 4th season running, are through to the quarterfinals of this competition. Undav once again on target. 9 goals in his last 9 competitive games for VfB Stuttgart. For Bochum, no disgrace, but the moments they did have in the first half they couldn't really take advantage of, and Fabian Bredlow wasn't overly extended in the Stuttgart goal. Stuttgart will take some stopping. It's a deep squad. It's a team that's playing good football. It's an important win away from home because their away form has not been great this season. But nobody is going to want to take on Stuttgart, especially in Stuttgart, when that quarter-final draw is made. 2 wins away now from a return to Berlin. And we saw the gap between these teams, both with 11 against 11 and 11 against 10, more naturally. But the Bochum fans will respect the effort, respect the commitment, the desire. They will hope that the team's recent improvement in the league can continue and that they can get themselves back into the race for promotion spots. Uwe Rösler said his team would have to suffer tonight, and suffer they did. But they didn't really make Stuttgart suffer at the other end. And what a turnaround it's been for this famous football club in recent years. Staring down the barrel of relegation when Sebastian Hoeneß first arrived at the club. But now they have a mix of youth and experience. And they are a team that's in the mix for trophies, both at home and abroad. Pretty good fun being a Stuttgart fan right now. Days of scrabbling around for their Bundesliga status, they hope, long behind them. They have a goal scorer in incredible form in Dennis Undav. For Uwe Rösler, early days. But it's still 5 wins in 8 in all competitions. It's still only the 2nd defeat they've suffered under Rösler. As the Ultras have their say. I'm sure they'll recognise the willingness to compete, if perhaps not the quality to compete, with a team like Stuttgart right now. Uwe Rösler experienced. He will, I'm sure, have drawn some conclusions from the last few weeks. He'll work with Simon Zoller, former Bochum striker, who is now head of first team affairs. They'll work together on the transfer targets that they'll try to bring to the club in January. Stuttgart still in 3 different competitions: the Bundesliga, in the Pokal still, and in the Europa League. And even though they didn't make the best of starts to the Europa League, they've found momentum of late. Could they do it again? It's a competition that Sebastian Hoeneß takes very seriously. You could see that with the team selection tonight. He went strong, very strong indeed. That's terrific to see. Everyone staying to send a message to those players that they respect what they achieved tonight in terms of never giving up, not collapsing with 10 men, which would have been easy to do. Stuttgart were able to go down a couple of gears in the latter stages, but they did keep pushing for a third goal. Another terrific night for Dennis Undav, who just gets better and better and better. A late developer, a late bloomer, but my, how he has blossomed in recent years in a Stuttgart jersey. So a fine win for Stuttgart. Hoping for a jersey. Something we see so often nowadays. Well, if we look at the statistics, don't be fooled by the fact Bochum had more shots, because the truth is Stuttgart were in control of this game. 70% of possession, 57% of the challenges won. Covered 6 kilometres more than Bochum, but of course that's skewed by the fact that Bochum had a man sent off. But this was strong performance by Stuttgart, and they were never truly uncomfortable in this game tonight at the Ruhrstadion. Well, this was the moment that really set Stuttgart on their way, as Strumpf got up above Mats Panovic and headed the ball into his own net. Timo Horn unable to claw it out, and a horrible moment for the former Ulm player. And then early in the second half, Undav to Stiller to Leveling, and Undav carried on his run and guided the ball deftly into the far corner. Just watch Undav here. Lets the ball go and then he's off. He knows exactly where he wants to be, in between defenders. That's a proper striker. It's a centre forward's goal there. Goal poacher. Just so intelligent with his movement. Doesn't have to be the tallest, doesn't have to be the quickest. He's the smartest, maybe. And he's loving his football right now, Dennis Undav. And he will hope to be smiling at the World Cup in the summer. And in the end, comfortable win for the holders Stuttgart, who have made it through once again to the quarterfinals. And for Bochum, Brave failure on the night. Plaudits, but no progress. So it is Stuttgart who go through. The final score at the Ruhrstadion is Bochum 0, Stuttgart 2. The holders go through.
Test, Test.
Neben mir haben wir gar nichts. neben mir drin gegangen ist.